the increasing size of freight carrying ships meant they could no longer navigate the ship canal. And this, combined with increased trading with Europe and the East, saw the use of Manchester docks decrease. 1982, the remaining docks closed and the area became derelict, which is a real shame. Depends greatly on the upgrading of the Metrolink system. The whole dock area was always supplied and linked to trains. So as I said, we had a sneak peek at one dock, and I've decided to have a sneak peek at some of Barton's swing bridges and Barton Swing Aqueduct, part of the Bridgewater Canal. There's train tracks all over the place that are no longer in use, but in the middle of the road you might see half a length of train track still sticking up from somewhere in the past. Broadway Link Road is the latest construction. Media City tram stop, that was 20th of September 2010. I didn't realise it was quite so old, 10 years ago though. Remember, we're trying to get the infrastructure as a sort of encyclopedia of what's going on in and around Manchester. I spoke about what did go on, and I will mention the places from, back in the days. I mean, like the early 1800s. Just a little interesting fact I'd like to add. I did mention Robert Peel having something to do with Peel Investments. There's also another company called Peel Security. Now, Sir Robert Peel's father was also called Robert Peel, and he was one of the founding members of the Manchester, Bolton and Bury Canal Company. They owned the canal from that direction. They later bought the Leeds and Manchester Railway Company and invested in the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Company, which is one of the biggest companies of the Industrial Revolution. They are typically known for using black bricks. I'm a bit of a fan of that railway company. They also founded Manchester United football team. The Manchester Ship Canal is a late addition to the Industrial Revolution. So let's just talk a bit more about that. I'm going to concentrate just on the wharf and walk along the Bridgewater Canal from the west side of Trafford Park. It's pretty flat and straight, but the canal splits, and I've filmed the other channel near Timperley in the previous video also, 001 Bridgewater Canal, so we can see where they rejoin and head as one from Manchester. We're going to go back in towards Manchester. We should do a loop then and end up back at Pomona. Currently the Metro Link station is also situated there where I've started from, but the railways have always had access to the docks. Even before the railways it was just the canal. So railways, then the ship canal. So you had the docks to the Mersey, navigation at the same time as the canal, and that's 1760s the canal. But these docks are for ships, most importantly, sea-going vessels. So this black brick is all the way along the ship canal. Now, I'm thinking, if Peel owned the canal, then his son was Prime Minister, he would have taken care of business, as it were, passing certain rights to the canal companies. Then, like I say, his family lineage will probably still own a lot of this infrastructure. So it's possible they invested in the Media City redevelopment. Very possible. Yeah. He was partners with a Mr. Yates and a Mr. Hayworth. Trafford Road Bridge. Get a quick glimpse of that, because it's part of the bridges will be all in one video, hopefully. So designed by John Butler and Co. The Trafford Swing Bridge, or Road Bridge, Trafford Road Swing Bridge, was built in 1892, spanning the Manchester Ship Canal. It would swing open, allowing ocean-going cargo ships to travel inland from Liverpool to the Manchester docks and Pomona docks. Salford and Manchester are two separate cities, by the way. I suppose that's quite complicated, but they're separated by the river mainly. The River Irwell divides them. That's another story, but that goes way back to Anglo-Saxon times. Salford City Council purchased the docks in '84 using a derelict land grant. The Salford Quays development plan was adopted in May 1985. Reclamation and development of the area for commercial, residential and leisure use. The Dock 9 was the largest. The Salford docks are the western downstream block, made of 4 large docks running east-northeast from the canal numbered 9876, the last 3 off a turning basin. They have now been redeveloped into Salford Quays. Water is also pumped in as part of water treatment systems. So I've walked the whole journey, but didn't film everything, because since the first video I've covered the whole thing on foot. So I suspected that between Manchester town centre and Barton swing bridges, Barton motorway bridge is so high to allow ships to pass under it uninterrupted as well, so you don't have to stop all the traffic for the boats to go through. Yeah, the ship canal is now finished, so that the bridge, you might not understand why it's so high, the motorway bridge, the modern version of the swing bridges. So I say all swing bridges and bridges. So it's not a real explanation as such, just to tell you the reasons they're there and why, and that I've walked and looked at everything and preparing to explain things. As I say, it's quite complicated, but I think I've managed to do it quite well to explain how the canal interacts with the navigation of the Irwell and Mersey. I think that's why it was important I followed the ship canal instead of the Bridgewater navigation. Also, I was unaware they split into 2. So next and finally, I'll explain where they lead to. And include the coal mines. So in order to give a better overview of the Barton swing bridges, I've crossed from the northern bank as though I've walked along Salford Quays, and below it looked like there's a lock, but it looked like the island is just for the swing bridges to sit on, and all the workings will be built into that island. I think it's coal powered at first, but it may be electrical, but it'll be a steam powered engine turning these bridges. would have had quite a lot of force to move these bridges. Well, initially get them going takes a lot of force. Momentum will open them quite easily once they swing. Remember, the engineering in these things is a lot more than you can see with the eye. There's a lot of science goes on to make it the most efficient way to open and close, also to hold the weight it has to hold, and be practical enough to let ships pass. I think it wouldn't be very practical to have the lock here because it would take time for the ship to drop, so you're holding up the traffic much longer. So I don't think they would have a lock where the bridge is. Yeah, they want to get the ship through as quick as possible and open the road again. But this is a feature of the original 5 iron bridges, and a good example of one of the 5 locks. What I'm saying is it does look like the lock would look. So on one side the ship floats through, the other side the river or the navigation carries on flowing, just like a canal, just like all the other canals we've seen on the Rochdale Canal, just a bigger version of that and a deeper version of that. It's actually a swing viaduct and a swing aqueduct. So imagine a vessel floating by, you know, you got a queue of cars, 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, rush hour, and you have to stop and you can just watch a ship go by in front of your window screen. I think that would be quite surreal also. Now we're used to these things, but when it first happened I bet people were like, that's a real ship floating in front of my car. So it's for the road to pass over the ship canal, and that's where we're filming the aqueduct from. But this is about crossing from the wharf, so I'll explain that as we link to the south bank and join the Bridgewater Canal to travel back towards Cornbrook. So we're going to go via Trafford Park, get a look at the Trafford Centre. The canals are the last section of these. There's a set of 3 movies that all fit together, and it'll explain the canals as much as the ship canal. But what I mean is, we've walked west along the north bank of Salford Quays, and now we're going to walk east along the south bank of the Bridgewater Canal and hopefully meet back up at Cornbrook. The canal was also connected further up the Irwell to a dock tunnel. There was locks which joined the Rochdale Canal. It's unclear if this branch was ever used. Personally, I think it was, because the Duke, who owned the Bridgewater Canal, charged high fees to enter his canal via hewn locks. But Lock 101 in Castlefield is the last of the Rochdale drop basins. This was also owned by the Duke, so there was no real way to bypass his tolls. And seeing as though they'd built this canal link, they may have used it. It's a bit confusing, but the tunnel is under the road near the Bridgewater Concert Hall, and this is all that remains. It's been plastered, but it would have looked like an old stone tunnel. It's old, it's all that remains of the link to and from the Irwell navigation. It's completely hidden underground, but lots of modern cities are built over the top of much older towns. The water is relatively clean that gets pumped into it. Remember, it is the original river, Irwell, which was, water always flows down into the river naturally. So water, as we can see, or as we film today, we'll see water getting pumped up from underground pressure pipes, underwater pressure pipes, sorry, but we can't see them. But it's still channeled the natural flow of local things, whether it's streams or estuaries, There's a Salford Marina. I believe that's a collapsed salt mine that has filled up with water naturally. Look into that another time though. So that's the Salford Wharf, Manchester Docks, as we carry on our journey. I'm going to walk around, as I said. So we're on the section of canal that is pretty bare, but it does show you the length of Trafford Park Industrial Estate until the industrial development of the park began in the late 19th century, 1800s. Much of the area now known as Trafford Park was a beautifully timbered deer park